Okay, that's the start.
That's it.
This is real, too. It's from Mr. Lord, because he was in television for real.
That's right. ABC.
Yep. All right. So, I don't want to break it. Okay. We always start with one question just to help us to know you a little better. So you have a question never before asked of any of our pastors, and it's this. Tell us about a time when you were a kid that called you to be courageous. What happened that made you draw on all the courage you had? On your mark?
I guess the thing that comes to mind, a lot of things come to mind.
If you were naughty, that's okay too.
Well, I was naughty, but I was also courageous, I guess. I remember that when I was probably a little younger than you, I don't know, no, I wasn't. My sister was. I remember we lived in a tenement house in Everett, Massachusetts, and it had the kind of siding that looked like brick, only it was...
Remember, you have a Bible story to tell
Oh,
too.
okay, all right. Well, anyhow, what we had done is my brother and I had taken a blanket and we nailed it against the siding and then attached it on the ground to make it a tent.
Wow. Did you ask permission?
No. And then, and then my sister, who was 5 years younger than me, and my brother and I were inside the tent. And somehow we got a hold of matches. I don't remember now how that happened. But to make a long story short, the tent caught fire. And my brother and I got out. But my sister was in there. And I ran in and I got her. And I brought her out. And we were trying to think how in heaven's name we would be able to keep this from my folks, since all my eyebrows were burned. And the siding on the house, it had melted.
Wow.
Yeah, so there was two things. One was getting my sister out of the fire, but the second thing was facing my mother and my father.
Do you think you saved her life?
I think...
Would she say you saved her life?
Probably. I don't
Wow.
know. Yeah, I guess.
Wait till the senator hears about this.
And I'm sure she will, too.
Okay, good story. Now, the Bible story.
The Bible story. All right, that's the one I was prepared for. My favorite Bible story is taken from Matthew 14. And it's told in other Gospels as well, but it's a story about Jesus and his disciples being on top of the mountain, and the crowds are all around Jesus, and he's healing, and finally everybody's tired, and it's gotten pretty close to evening, and so Jesus sends the disciples on ahead for them to get in the boat and go out onto the Sea of Galilee. He has to stay behind to just finish up a few healing and praying and so on. Well, the disciples get out and they fall asleep in the boat, but then a wind comes up and they wake up, and all of a sudden they see this figure coming toward them, walking on the water, and it's Jesus. And immediately they're afraid until Jesus assures them that it's he. And so Peter, now Peter is my favorite character in the Bible, because Peter, I think, is very much like me. Or I'm like him. He wore sandals. But he was hot and cold. He was. I'm sure that Peter must have been a Gemini. There are times when I fall flat on my face, and there are other times when, I do okay with God's help. And that's the way Peter was. Peter just made one mistake after another, but then he always redeemed himself. And so here's Peter, and he says, Jesus, can I come and join you on the water? And so Jesus says, come. And so Peter gets out of the boat, and he starts to walk on the water, and he has his eyes fixed on Jesus, but all of a sudden a wind comes up, and he takes his eyes off Jesus to look at the waves and the wind. And as soon as he does that, he starts to sink. And he cries out, oh, my Lord, save me. And Jesus reaches down and pulls him up and says, oh, man of little faith, why did you doubt? And the reason for that being my favorite is because there are times when I have doubts, even now, sometimes more than I did when I was your age. But the one thing that I've learned, if you take your eyes off Jesus, you're liable to sink. You keep your eyes on Jesus, man, you can do anything, even walk on water.
Wow.
Or close to it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kerr. And TIP, this is Penny on your favorite weekly broadcast. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.